I mentioned at the top of the show. What I do know is I don't know anything about this Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph situation. And nobody's going to back down on either side. And this will lead to speculation. Now we're going to read in and we're going to figure out, well, why something happened or didn't happen, why something was said, not said, who heard it, who said it, did anybody say anything? What do you take away from this?
Well, it's an awful situation, right? Because either it happened and we all agree that that should never happen in any way, shape, or form, or it didn't happen, and this is a false allegation that's about as bad of an allegation as you can make of any human being. So it's an awful situation, no matter how you look at it, Dan. Somebody's lying. And, the issue for me is, I guess, twofold, right? Number one, as it relates to Myles Garrett, I was about as defensive of him as anyone, because I actually had that happen to me in a practice one time. LeVar Arrington got my helmet off and swung it at me. Thank goodness he missed. But I can see how it happens because I was part of it. And I applauded Myles Garrett for his accountability after the game. I said, look, things happen. You lose your mind. It's not okay. He'll be suspended for the rest of the year, and he should. But I didn't think it was as awful as everybody else did. I could see how that would happen. And I applauded his accountability. How can I do that now, Dan? How can I stand up for Garrett's accountability on multiple levels? Number one, I find it really hard to believe that if there was a racial slur, that he wouldn't have mentioned that after the game. You have to think 99.9% of human beings would have said, look, I lost my cool. He said something that was unacceptable. I still shouldn't have lost my cool. But then there's the second part of it, which is that he obviously was throwing it out there at the appeal hearing, but it doesn't really condone his behavior, right? Like, even if that did happen, it's not okay and it's horrible, but that doesn't make it okay that Garrett hit him on the head with the helmet. So it's like, I don't know. I know what he was going for, but even if it happened, it didn't work. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, he did? Okay, then no suspension. You're right. That's fine. He shouldn't have said that. It's still not okay to hit the guy in the head with the helmet, no matter what he said.
Yeah, but I think people are still condoning it if it's based off of that. That maybe that either Rudolph or one of his teammates said something to Myles Garrett. And not that I look at it and say, boy, I'm going to lessen your suspension. I would look at that separately. You still grabbed his helmet and you still hit a guy over the head with his helmet. Rudolph should be punished in this situation. But this speculation makes me nervous because, what's the NFL do? Do you have lie detector test? Like, what's next here to try to figure this out? Because it does feel like, I gave three options. Garrett's lying, Rudolph's lying and said something, Garrett misheard something. Is there anything else that you can throw in there as far as options go?
No, I don't think so. And to your point, number one, I said all week I felt like Mason Rudolph should have been suspended one game. If Ogunjobi was suspended one game for hitting Rudolph in the back, then Rudolph for trying to rip Myles Garrett's helmet off on the field, and then after his helmet was off, and two offensive linemen were, keeping Myles Garrett away, Rudolph went over and escalated the situation again. And I only, by the way, Dan, had one rule when I got in football fights, which is if my helmet came off, I was out. I mean, that was it for me. I was done. Rudolph has evidently not been in very many fights because once your helmet's off, it's over. But I'll take it a step further, Dan. If I'm Rudolph, I take a lie detector test, and maybe both of them. But I almost wonder if this backfires on Myles Garrett. The NFL has come out and said they found no credible evidence. If they don't believe that Mason Rudolph said that, and this is now based on Myles Garrett's Twitter statement, a public accusation of a racial slur, doesn't the indefinite suspension go on longer? Like, if they think Myles Garrett's lying, doesn't there have to be some discipline for that?
I think it's dangerous to go down that slope, though. I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to just punish him for his actions. And, Rudolph should be punished as well.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.